The wind screamed like a banshee, clawing at the rotting walls of the cabin where I lay trapped, my leg pinned under splintered wood, blood pooling beneath me. It was February 12th, 2026, and I was supposed to be dead. My mother, Claire, had made sure of that, dragging me from her rusted Ford pickup and locking me in this godforsaken shack in Oregon's Cascade Mountains, where the blizzard outside was as merciless as her heart. I could still hear her voice, sharp as a blade. "You're a liability, Emma. Stay quiet or you're done." Then the screech of her tires fading into the storm, leaving me to freeze, bleed, or worse. I'm Emma Lawson, 32, a former investigative journalist who once exposed crooked politicians and shady corporations, now a disabled woman betrayed by the one person who should have protected me. My cane was still in her truck, my phone smashed under her boot before she left. But as I fought the pain shooting up my leg, something else chilled me deeper than the cold. I wasn't alone. Someone was out there, watching, their shadow flickering through the cracked window. They knew my mother's secrets, secrets that could unravel everything I thought I knew about my family. This wasn't just abandonment, it was a conspiracy to erase me. The cabin smelled of damp rot and despair, the kind that seeps into your bones and makes you question if you're still human. My breath fogged in the air, each exhale a reminder I was still clinging to life. The floor had given way an hour ago, maybe two. Time blurs when you're fighting hypothermia. A jagged plank had caught my left leg, tearing through my jeans and into flesh. I'd screamed until my throat was raw, but the storm swallowed my voice. No one was coming. Not Claire, not my sister Ava, not even my estranged brother Liam, whose silver locket I clutched like a lifeline. It was the last thing he'd given me before he vanished into his own demons. A tiny oval engraved with "Always Yours." I pressed it against my chest, the metal cold but grounding, a tether to a world that hadn't yet given up on me. Or so I hoped. I yanked at the wood, trapping my leg, my fingers numb and slick with blood. Pain exploded, white hot, and I bit my lip to keep from passing out. If I blacked out now, I'd never wake up. The wind howled louder, rattling the cabin's loose shutters, and I swear I heard something else. A low, guttural growl just beyond the door. My heart stuttered. Wolves. Oregon's cascades were crawling with them, and the claw marks gouged into the door's peeling paint weren't old. They were fresh, deep, and now I could smell it. The coppery tang of my own blood, a beacon to whatever was prowling out there. I fumbled through the torn backpack Claire had thrown at me, my hands shaking as I pulled out a rusted hunting knife, its blade chipped but sharp enough to do damage. The growling grew closer, a rhythmic snarl that made my skin crawl. I gripped the knife, my pulse hammering in my ears. If I was going to die, it wouldn't be as prey. But then, a different sound, crisp, deliberate, like boots crunching snow. Not the wolf. Human. I froze, the knife trembling in my hand. The window, caked with frost, showed nothing but darkness. But I felt it. Eyes on me, heavy and unyielding. A shadow moved, tall and broad, just beyond the glass. My breath caught. Friend? Foe? I didn't know, but they were out there, and they weren't leaving. A soft scrape at the door. Then a gloved hand slid something underneath. A folded piece of paper, stark white against the grimy floor. I stared, afraid to move, afraid to breathe. The growling had stopped. The wolf scared off or silenced. But the silence was worse. It pressed down, thick and suffocating, daring me to act. I dragged myself toward the note, every inch agony as the wood scraped my leg. My fingers closed around the paper, and I unfolded it with shaking hands. Scrawled in black ink, "They lied about your past. Keep fighting." My stomach dropped. Who were they? Claire? Ava? My whole damn family? And what past? The words burned into my brain, each one a spark igniting questions I wasn't ready to face. I'd been a journalist, trained to sniff out lies, to dig until the truth bled. But this was personal, and it terrified me. The shadow outside shifted again, and I caught a glimpse of a hooded figure, face hidden, before they stepped back into the storm. A soft clatter followed, and I saw it. A thermos and a wool blanket pushed through the broken window, landing on the floor with a thud. I didn't trust it. I couldn't. Trust had gotten me here, locked in a death trap by my own mother. But the cold was winning, my body shutting down, and I had no choice. I crawled to the thermos, unscrewed the cap, and the scent of beef broth hit me like a memory of a life I'd lost. It was warm, real, and I drank, the heat spreading through my chest, pushing back the fog in my head. The blanket was rough but thick, and I wrapped it around my shoulders, my teeth still chattering. Whoever they were, they'd saved me. For now. But why? And what did they know that I didn't? Then I saw it. A flicker of orange outside. The stranger was building a fire, the flames catching on a pile of branches just beyond the window. The glow lit up the cabin, casting jagged shadows on the walls. For a moment, I felt human again, the warmth a promise I might survive. But promises are fragile, and this one shattered fast. The fire leapt, too eager, licking the cabin's dry exterior. Smoke curled inside, acrid and thick, stinging my eyes. I coughed, my lungs seizing, and panic clawed at me. The flames were spreading, eating the walls, and I was still trapped. I dropped the blanket, grabbed the knife, and hacked at the wood, pinning my leg. Each swing was torture, blood slicking my hands, but I didn't stop. The smoke thickened, the heat searing my skin. With a final, desperate pull, I freed my leg, screaming as the pain nearly blinded me. I crawled to the door, my fingers fumbling for the lock. It was rusted, stubborn, and the fire was roaring now, the ceiling creaking above me. I slammed my shoulder against the door once, twice, and it gave way, spilling me into the snow. As the cold hit like a slap. But I was alive, gasping, the cabin burning behind me. I collapsed, the snow soaking through my clothes, the note still clutched in my hand. The fire had claimed it, though, the edges charred, the words reduced to ash, except for two. Your past. They echoed in my mind, a taunt, a clue, a warning. The stranger was gone, their boot prints swallowed by the storm, but I knew they'd been real. They'd seen me, saved me, and left me with a truth I couldn't ignore. My family had lied. Not just about me, but about something bigger, something buried deep. I forced myself to my knees, the wind cutting through me like 1,000 tiny knives. My leg was a mess, blood freezing in the snow. But I couldn't stay here. The wolf was still out there, the fire still burning, and Claire's betrayal was only the beginning. I thought of her now, miles away in our polished Bend home, probably sipping bourbon by the fireplace, telling Ava I'd run off again. Emma's unstable, she'd say, her voice smooth as silk. And Ava would nod, too wrapped up in her perfect life to question it. They didn't know I was still breathing. They didn't know I was coming for the truth. The locket felt heavier now, Liam's absence a wound that never healed. He'd been the only one who ever saw me, really saw me, before addiction and Claire's lies tore him away. I tucked it under my shirt, the metal warming against my skin. The storm was relentless, but so was I. I'd been a journalist once, a hunter of secrets, and I wasn't done yet. Whoever was watching, whoever left that note, they'd given me a thread to pull. And I would pull until the whole damn tapestry of my family's lies unraveled. I staggered forward, using a broken branch as a crutch, each step a defiance of the death Claire had planned for me. The forest was a maze of snow and shadows, but I kept moving, driven by the note's promise and the stranger's fire. Somewhere out there was the truth about my past, about why my mother wanted me gone, about who was watching and why they cared. I wasn't just fighting to survive anymore. I was fighting to exist. The snow stung my face like 1,000 tiny needles, each one a reminder that I was still alive, still fighting, even as my body screamed to give up. It was February 13th, 2026, and I, Emma Lawson, was no longer just a disabled ex-journalist left to die in a burning cabin in Oregon's Cascade Mountains. I was a ghost clawing her way back to the truth, haunted by a note that had burned to ash but seared its words into my soul. They lied about your past, fighting. My mother, Claire, hadn't just locked me in that cabin during a blizzard. She'd branded me a criminal, erased me from our family's story, and left me to rot. But someone else was out there, watching, leaving cryptic clues that hinted at a conspiracy deeper than I could fathom. As I limped through the frozen forest, blood freezing on my torn leg, I felt their eyes on me, a shadow in the storm. And I knew this was only the beginning. The truth was close, but so was danger, and every step I took was a gamble between survival and oblivion. The forest was a labyrinth of ice and shadow, the pines looming like silent judges, their branches heavy with snow that fell in relentless sheets. My left leg was a throbbing mess. The gash from the cabin's collapsed floor, now crusted with frost, every movement sending spikes of pain up my spine. I leaned heavily on a broken branch I'd fashioned into a crutch, its bark biting into my palm. My ankle, swollen and useless, dragged behind me, leaving a trail of blood and desperation in the snow. Frostbite was creeping in. I could feel it in my fingertips, my toes, the way my skin burned before going numb. But I couldn't stop. Not after Claire's betrayal, not after that note, not after the stranger's fire had given me a second chance. I was a journalist once, trained to chase leads through chaos, and this was the biggest story of my life, my own. The wind howled, carrying a faint guttural snarl that made my heart lurch. The wolf was back, or maybe it had never left, stalking me through the trees, drawn by the scent of my blood. I tightened my grip on the rusted hunting knife I'd found in Claire's backpack, its chipped blade my only defense. My eyes darted to the claw marks I'd seen on the cabin door. The snarl grew closer, a low rumble that vibrated in my chest. I spun, my crutch slipping, and caught a flash of gray fur between the pines, eyes glinting in the dim light. My breath hitched. I wasn't ready to die, not like this, not before I knew why Claire wanted me gone. I raised the knife, my arm trembling, and shouted into the storm. "Come on, then!" The wolf paused, its silhouette blurring in the snow, then retreated, as if my defiance had startled it. But I knew it wasn't gone. It was waiting. I pressed on, my lungs burning with each shallow breath. The forest seemed to tighten around me, the trees closing in, their branches clawing at my torn jacket. Then I saw it, a frozen stream cutting through the snow, its surface glinting like polished glass. It was my only path forward. The trail on the other side led to a faint ridge, maybe a road, maybe salvation. But the ice was thin, cracked in places, and the water beneath was black and unforgiving. Agitated, the wolf's distant howl urging me to move. I had no choice. I stepped onto the ice, my crutch tapping cautiously, my weight shifting with every agonizing inch. Halfway across, a sickening crack split the air. The ice gave way, and I plunged into the frigid water, the cold so sharp it stole my scream. The current yanked at me, pulling me under, my arms flailing for something to grab. My fingers found a jagged edge of ice, and I clung to it, my nails splintering as I hauled myself up. The water was a vice, squeezing the life from my lungs, but I kicked, clawed, fought until I was back on the bank, gasping, soaked, and shaking so violently I thought my bones would shatter. My knife was gone, lost to the stream, and my crutch had floated away. Collapsed, snow soaking through my clothes, and for a moment I wanted to let go, to let the cold take me. But then I saw it, half buried under a pine, a torn page, its edges curling like a dying leaf. I crawled to it, my hands numb, and pulled it free. It was mine, my handwriting, a poem I'd written at 20 after Claire blamed me for Liam's addiction. The lighthouse crumbles, but the sea remembers. On the back, in unfamiliar script. Your mother hid the truth about your father. Dig deeper. My heart pounded, the words a lifeline, pulling me back from the edge. My father, Daniel, had been a ghost in my life, erased by Claire's stories of his abandonment. But this note suggested something else, something sinister. I tucked the page into my jacket, its weight heavier than the snow. More pages littered the ground ahead, some charred, others with my sketches of waves and cliffs, fragments of a journal I'd kept hidden for years. I followed them, each one a breadcrumb leading me deeper into the mystery. One page stopped me cold. A letter I'd written at 14, tucked in my mattress to escape Claire's prying eyes. You are not their scapegoat. You are enough. The words hit like a punch, and I sank to my knees, the snow swallowing my sob. Who had found these? Who had scattered them here, in this frozen hell, and why? A sharp snap broke my trance. Not a twig, a mechanism, cold and metallic. I lunged back just as a hunter's trap slammed shut, its steel teeth grazing my arm, tearing through my sleeve and drawing blood. I gasped, scrambling away, my pulse roaring in my ears. The trap was new, its chains staked deep, not rusted like something forgotten. Someone had set it, and I didn't think it was for animals. The forest felt alive now. Every shadow a threat, every gust a whisper of pursuit. I staggered to my feet, using a low branch to steady myself, and limped toward a faint trail, the pages guiding me like a trail of ash. The trail led to an abandoned ranger outpost, its roof sagging under snow, windows boarded but cracked. Inside, the air was stale, thick with mildew and something sharper. Fear, maybe mine. A flickering laptop sat on a crate powered by a car battery, its screen casting a ghostly glow. I approached, my breath shallow, and saw a dark web forum open, posts tagged Emma's Truth. The words hit like a slap. They framed her for everything. Claire's lies run deeper than you know. Another post mentioned a witness who'd been tracking me since my days at the Portland Chronicle, where I'd exposed a corrupt senator and nearly lost my job for it. My mind flashed to Noah, the quiet intern who'd lingered at my desk, asking about my stories, his eyes always searching. Was it him? Was he the shadow in the storm? Fresh boot prints led from the outpost to a frozen creek, their edges crisp, too recent to be chance. I followed, my arm bleeding, my body screaming, but my journalist's instincts were awake, hungry. The creek was silent, its surface a mirror reflecting the gray sky. Then I saw it, a figure, hooded, standing on the far bank. They didn't move, didn't speak, but their presence was a weight, pulling me closer. "Who are you?" I shouted, my voice cracking. They turned, vanishing into the trees, leaving only a single word scratched in the snow. Tacoma. My stomach twisted. A place? A clue? A trap? I didn't know, but it was all I had. The forest thinned, and I stumbled onto a rural highway. The asphalt cracked and dusted with snow. Dusk was falling, painting the sky in bruises of purple and gold. A diner glowed ahead, near Sisters, Oregon, its neon sign buzzing like a heartbeat. I limped closer, my body a map of pain, and peered through the window. There they were, Claire, Ava, my stepfather Greg, and Liam, sharing burgers, laughing like I'd never existed. Claire's bourbon glass glinted. Ava's manicured nails tapped her phone, texting friends. Emma's gone. Good riddance. Greg chuckled. Liam stared at his plate, and I realized Claire's lie had taken root. Emma's off causing trouble again. Let her go. They weren't mourning me, they were celebrating. Then I saw Mia, my cousin, sitting stiffly at the table's edge. Her eyes found mine through the glass, wide with guilt, and she mouthed, I knew. My blood ran cold. Mia had overheard Claire and Ava plotting to deal with me, whispering in the kitchen weeks ago. But she'd stayed silent, too scared of Claire's wrath to act. The betrayal cut deeper than the cold, sharper than the trap's teeth. I turned away, my vision blurring, and limped to a gas station, collapsing under its flickering sign. Maybe I should vanish, I whispered, the words bitter on my tongue. Let them win. Let them rewrite me as the villain. But a trucker, weathered and kind, knelt beside me, wrapping me in a tarp that smelled of diesel and coffee. You're not done yet, kid, he said, handing me a thermos of black coffee. His voice was rough but warm, a lifeline I didn't expect. He drove me to a shelter in Redmond where I gave my name as Clara, refusing to carry Emma's tainted weight. The shelter was a blur of hot soup and clean bandages, but I couldn't stay. I wandered into a used bookstore, drawn by its warmth, the scent of aged paper like a hug I'd forgotten. The clerk, an old man with eyes like faded denim, looked up. "You're Clara, right?" My heart stopped. He handed me a package labeled in my father's handwriting. "For Clara, when you're free." I tore it open, my hand shaking. Inside was a USB drive and a letter, Daniel's words spilling across the page. "Claire framed me for fraud to keep you from me. I never stopped fighting for you." The USB held voicemails, his voice raw and desperate. "You're my daughter, Emma. I love you." Claire had blocked them, stolen his love to control my story. Tears fell, hot and unstoppable, as I realized she hadn't just abandoned me, she'd rewritten my entire life. I moved to Seattle, working nights at a copy shop, painting in secret to channel the rage and grief. My painting, The Silent Abyss, was a woman drowning in ink, her screams muted, a portrait of my trauma. I submitted it to a blind gallery show as E. Mol MF47, not expecting it to change everything. At the gallery, Claire and Ava mocked the art, oblivious, until the host announced, "The Silent Abyss" by Emma Lawson. Eva's phone shattered on the floor, Claire's face twisted in shock, and I stepped forward, my voice steady. "You said I was nothing. The world saw my truth tonight." The painting went viral on X, 2.3 million views, comments raging. Her family tried to bury her. CPS contacted me, investigating Claire for abuse, triggered by an anonymous tip with my childhood medical records, bruises she'd blamed on my clumsiness. I found a voice memo on an old phone. Claire's voice hissing, "You're a mistake. I should have ended." I posted it, no caption, letting her words damn her. My inbox flooded, but one email stopped me cold. "Witness 47. Your father's case isn't closed. Meet me in Tacoma." My pulse raced. A trap? A truth? I didn't know, but I was ready. I started leading art workshops for abused teens, painting a phoenix rising from shattered glass, its wings cracked, but soaring. The kids' stories mirrored mine, their pain a mirror, their hope a fire. One girl, barely 13, painted a door half open, light spilling through. "That's me," she whispered, getting out. I nodded, my throat tight, and knew I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was rewriting my story, not with Claire's lies, but with my truth. The email from Witness 47 burned in my mind. Tacoma was a risk, but so was staying still. I packed a bag, the USB drive in my pocket, Daniel's letter folded against my heart. The Phoenix painting hung in my tiny apartment, a reminder. I was broken, but not destroyed. As I boarded a bus to Tacoma, the city's lights blurring through the rain, I felt a shift, a scream. Claire had tried to erase me, but I was louder now. My story a scream the world couldn't ignore. Whatever waited in Tacoma, I was ready. The truth was mine to claim.